From LA Late headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LA Late.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LA with breaking details across the board about your fourth stimulus, your fifth stimulus, and the strange developments that happened today. While it's easy to understand a reoccurring stimulus check under fourth stimulus, what did the president really unveil today as a tax credit of $26 an hour to get vaccinated? I'll try to explain it in this recording. And then I'll also try to explain why the $3,600 of child tax credit, which starts to pay in the month of July, may actually have to refund it. Yeah, and not particularly clear about this one as well. Then I'll also try to cover the student loan debt forgiveness of $50,000 that the president had ordered an executive memo to be produced last Friday, and we haven't seen that as well. I'll try to explain that absence of that letter as well. In a day in which there's a lot of things happening, a lot of things are very unclear. And I'll explain to you when it's unclear and where we can sort of swim through the abyss of confusion to get to the finish line. The easy thing to know is that monthly stimulus checks are ordered by senators and House members under the fourth stimulus package. That under the fifth stimulus package, now there's a push to reform SSI, SSDI, Social Security, and railroad benefits to give you three incredible things you've never had. One, an increase in your benefits lifetime. Two, a new benchmark every year that will be tied to inflation. Number three, to raise the income cap and for if you want to work, and also to raise the asset cap. Incredible great news. So in the case of when it's coming from Congress, it's all very clear today. But when it's coming from the president, a little bit not so clear. I'll be going over all the details together, and we'll figure out if we can get to a clarity of the subject of all these items. This is a major recording, and I'll also cover everything else you've been wondering about, like student loan debt forgiveness and SSI $2,400. This is Afternoons LA. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? You know, when we're talking about fourth stimulus and monthly stimulus checks, this is easy. We see the months, July to December. We see the amount per month. We understand that. We understand who's eligible. This is very easy. Very, very simple, straightforward. I'll be covering this four stimulus checks that could pay you $12,000 between July and December, and the $8,400 if it's paid at $1,400 a month. Very, very straightforward and easy. But what happened today? Today, a lot of stuff that was not particularly forced stimulus, but on the fringes of forced stimulus, or impacting forced stimulus, or between fourth and fifth, hit, and it was just very confusing. They're all stimulus items, and not all of them were very clear. I'll explain to you, and we're going to go through each of them and try to figure them out together in this recording. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. I have no qualms about saying when I'm confused, and in this recording, I'm going to hopefully find that clarity with you. Also, like this video, and if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Casino VIP. First, to start, this is not about forced stimulus. Forced stimulus is going to have to go by reconciliation. We learned today that the Senate Republicans have offered formally to the president the same thing they offered 3 weeks ago. He wanted bipartisan support. He didn't get it. He has a $2 trillion infrastructure bill, which he also calls the American Jobs Plan and also calls the American Recovery Act. He wanted $2 trillion, which would cover both infrastructure, climate, and tax changes. The Republicans 3 weeks ago, including Roy Blunt, who's the number one Republican for transportation out of Missouri, and he is retiring, he proposed $600, $800 billion just for infrastructure, no tax changes. The president said, no, I need climate. So today and yesterday, he met with those Republicans, and they did introduce a formal counteroffer. What was it? $600, $800 billion, exactly the same amount of money, exactly for infrastructure. In fact, it's less for infrastructure than the president wants. No money for climate. That the president says is a line in the sand. He says he absolutely has to have money for climate. Absolute line in the sand, to quote the press secretary from yesterday. And finally, it would not change the tax code at all. It would do it through different pay-fors. So what did the president say to that? Not going to do it. Come back to me with another counter proposal. You know, that's sort of in the universe of negotiations, that's sort of abrupt to say, I don't like your offer. give me another offer, and to actually say I'm not going to counteroffer. So the president did not counteroffer to the Republicans. He said, "Come back to me with another with another offer. I'm not going to do that." So that's forced stimulus. You understand what forced stimulus is? It has to go by reconciliation, folks. Absolutely has to go by reconciliation. And no matter what the president is doing with these chats, I have to make this very clear to you, and I want to hit it very clear because later this recording you're going to get confused about other subjects. Leader Schumer and Speaker Pelosi have done this for 30, 40 years. They know how to run their Congress. They know they need to do a reconciliation. They know how long it takes. They know how difficult or how many steps they got to do. And they have the calendar in front of them. They know when they got to start. They're not being bamboozled or confused by anything. So while the president is trying to look like he's doing bipartisanship, they have a calendar in front of them. They know when they have to start. Also, a new thing that I have to make very clear to you, you're hearing just for today on this channel for the first time, is that those Democrats really want to put a lot of other stuff into the forced stimulus package add-ons that you may have never heard of, or maybe you've heard of before and they want to try it again. Because forced stimulus packages, third stimulus package, second stimulus package, is an opportunity for a legislator to add items to a package that would never pass as a standalone bill. We saw that under second stimulus. Nancy tried to add something for a highway and something for a building. Under third stimulus, someone tried to do that again. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work. So there are Democrats who want to add other things to this package, and they're waiting with bated breath because ultimately they write the bill, not the president. They amend the bill at their senators. And at their House members, they send it to the subcommittees like the House Ways and Means Committee. If you remember Representative Neal that oversees the House Ways and Committee, he is the chairman, and he modifies the big pay-fors in the forced stimulus. That's where you're going to see what they want to get added. So that's very easy. That's the easy part of this recording. So where did we get confusing today? Well, we started getting confusing when we heard about fifth stimulus yesterday. This is sort of grade C confusion. It's very light confusion. We started to hear the president talk about the American Family Plan. Oh, what is that one? Is that fourth stimulus? No, it's fifth stimulus. Fifth stimulus, when is that? September. Okay, so far I got you. So he is proposing some changes to a lot of great stimulus under fifth stimulus. Now, the great news is that a series of major senators and congressional leaders, whether it's Pete DeFazio, which I detailed to you last October, who wanted massive reform for the Social Security Administration, or Warren, or Wyden, or all the same faces you see all the time, they wrote this incredible letter calling for all this massive change of Social Security. What did they propose? Three major things that are very easy to understand right off the bat. And the three remain very familiar to you. Why? Because you heard them from Biden during transition, you heard them from Biden while on the campaign trail, and you heard them from Warren on the campaign trail. Number one, to raise your benefits. That's easy. How much, LA? They want to raise it about 100% one time. So everyone is raised up to a new monthly amount. And this would be your new monthly amount. Yes, it's an enormous raise. Why? Because they say you're currently at 1984 numbers on that one. Then, if you know every December your benefits are reassessed, they want to change that reassessment to be tied to inflation. You're currently tied to COLA. It doesn't move, COLA. Inflation does. Now, this is even easier to understand because inflation is always 2%, 3%. We're not in some foreign third world country where inflation's 25% a year. It's 2% or 3%. So you can look at your benefits statement and say, I'm probably going to go up 2%, 3%. I know exactly what that's going to be next year. Very easy. Third, they want to do a lot of other great add-ons, which will remove the income cap to allow you to work more and not have to fall off of benefits if you do want to work, and also keep more money on cash, remove the asset benefits. This is all very easy so far. So this is fifth stimulus. So where does this get confusing? It gets confusing when we look at the numbers involved. Oh boy. I don't know if the word confusing is the operative word or shock. The president's proposing to spend $6 trillion between now and September. Now, here's what you need to know. It may be confusing to us to say, can he get away with doing $6 trillion in 9 months when we sat here on the shell in 2020 and we could barely get $800 billion done? Yes, he can. He could do reconciliation after reconciliation. He can't do this by bipartisanship. And guess what? This is what he wants to do in the fall. He wants, under fifth stimulus, to do a child tax credit and make it lifetime. Which child tax credit? Okay, so now let me go back to where we start to get a little confusing. As you know, under the third stimulus package, the president put in this incredible provision that if you're 17 to 6, you're going to get $3,000 for starting in the month of July, paid $250 a month for 1 year. You got that. I've done that video enough. And then you know if you're 5 to newborn, you're going to get $3,600 paid $300 a month from July for 1 year. Also very easy. You got that. So what is the president proposing? He's proposing to take that number and do it for 5 years more. Now, this is starting to shock the senses for some viewers. Yes, you saw me start with the opening numbers about your stimulus checks of $8,000 or $9,000 or $10,000 or $12,000 over 6 months. He wants to pay $40,000, $50,000 to newborn young children over the next 6 years. If that's starting to shock the senses, it should. It's a lot of money. But he has the ability to do it by reconciliation. Here is where it starts to get confusing. A new report released today, and this is the first time you're hearing this on the channel, and yes, I don't understand it. This is where I fully admit I don't understand what I'm reporting. Is a new report says that when looking at the child care tax, the child tax credit, which starts to pay in July of $300 to $250 a month, you and I know that that has always been a advance for next year. Let me slow it down. This part is starting to be fine. It's going to get confusing in a second. The child care credit was always supposed to be an advance for next year. It's coming starting the month of July as an advance for your 2020 tax year. We were always told by the administration it is not anything you have to ever repay. Okay. That sort of changed today. What's going on? A new report today, which I literally can't follow, and remember, I'm not a tax preparer, so I fully disclose can't give tax advice. The new report says that if you had a major change in your income between 2019 and 2020, or 2020 and 2021, where you weren't making a lot before, but suddenly making a lot of money now, you may have to repay the money you start getting in July. Now you're about to say, oh no, I don't want to repay it. What's going on here? Now let me explain who this does not apply to. This part I understand. It does not apply to someone who doesn't make money. So you didn't make money in 2019, you didn't make money in 2020. It's easy. It's referring to people who have a big change in what happened to their income structure. That's easy. Second, well, what if you did have a big change in your income? How much do you have to repay, and why would you have to repay it? The credit is going to be sent to you in the month of July based upon your prior tax return on file with IRS. The new report says that by the time IRS sees your next tax return and looks at it and says, oh, you made a lot more money than the year before. We need to get some of that money given back to you. You may have to return some of the money. I don't understand the report. It's a major news report released today. Here's my best understanding of the report is the following. The child tax credit, we absolutely 100% understand, is for people who make less than $75,000. And that if you make more than $75,000, you get less of the child money. And that at $100,000, it phases out, meaning you can't get it. So I think what they're referring to is, for example, an example that someone said that may have made, let's say, $60,000 2 years ago, and suddenly made $120,000 in 2020. You start to get these child credits, and then they say, "Oh, but you made $120,000. Why are you getting this tax credit? You're phased out. You shouldn't even be getting 1 penny of it." That's where it may trigger. So if you're watching this video and you're one person who has had a major swing in your income between 2019 and 2020, please consult with a tax preparer because this is a surprise. And that's not the first thing that was confusing today. We went to another item of confusion. And that other item of confusion came with that press conference from the president. And the press conference didn't really help it either. The president announced today an incredible, great offer to pay you up to $66 an hour if you got vaccinated. What? Okay, I'm going to try to do this one slowly because this one is so confusing and makes the last one look like a walk in the park. The president today announced that if you work at a business and nonprofit with less than 500 employees, the federal government is going to give a tax credit that will pay you sick leave up to $511 a day for up to 10 days or 80 hours taken between April 1st and September 30th, 2021, because you got vaccinated. That's about as confusing as a thing I think I've ever covered on the channel. I think the level of confusion of that sentence is about as confusing as I've ever covered. It's not because you're sick, it's because you got vaccinated. So why are you off for like 3 days because you're vaccinated? Okay, that's the first thing that's not clear. Second, $511 a day at 8 hours a day is like a $66 an hour pay amount. What? That's really that Bernie Sanders would love this. $66 an hour. And how many days based upon a vaccination? I don't understand that either. You get vaccinated in 1 day. You don't get vaccinated over 2 days. Now I understand maybe you don't feel good the next day. You have to stay home. Okay, let's do 2 days. But no one's staying home for a week because you got vaccinated. Not particularly clear. To which I know exactly the viewer's going to ask me, what happened to that paid sick leave under the third stimulus? I don't know. I believe it got into the third stimulus package. Remember, the third stimulus package was to pay $1,700 a week for everyone who is sick because of COVID or has to stay home because their child is sick because of COVID, or you have to stay home for work because you have COVID, or a family member is sick, you have to stay home and take care of them because of COVID. Only for people who work and have to stay home because of someone with COVID or have to quarantine because of COVID, based upon a $73,000 annual salary. This is the easy part. So if it's $73,000 annual salary or less or more, you get $1,700 a week, which is an enormous amount of money. If you make less than $73,000 and had to stay home from work, then it's calculated a little bit less. That's all very simple. So is this a version of that? Yeah. It's one of those days where things are just not particularly clear. Also not particularly clear is what's really going on with these bipartisan negotiations. I mean, every time I look at these bipartisan negotiations, I sort of don't understand how I'm supposed to explain it to you, because the bipartisan negotiations at issue are very simple. It feels as though I'm reporting something and there's sort of a trick to it. The Republicans 3 weeks ago told the president, when considering the fourth stimulus package, they have an offer, a counteroffer, $600-800 billion. No climate, no change to the corporate tax structure, and we're not going to give the full amount of money for infrastructure you want. He wants $2 trillion. He said no several weeks ago. Then the press secretary, I think it was on Thursday or Friday last week, said, we're waiting for a counteroffer. I mean, you've heard a counteroffer. We've heard it. They appeared up on broadcast news. So what happened yesterday? Well, the same Republicans introduced the same counteroffer formally in paper. I don't know if that's what the press secretary was waiting for, but it was, again, the same counteroffer in vocalization, instead of being said, as we heard over the last 3 weeks, now it's on paper. And then you know what the president's response was? Come back with another counteroffer. What? He has heard the same number, $600-800 billion from the Republicans for 4 weeks. So again, I am confused why he's asking for another counteroffer when that has been their only offer for 4 weeks, and they have been very clear they don't want to move. Here's what you need to know to make this find clarity in this discussion. The people who are going to give you the stimulus checks are Mitch and Nancy. They're not the president. The people who are going to give you the stimulus checks are congressional leaders, not the president. The people who are going to get this package to the finish line are Mitch and Nancy. Excuse me. Did I say Mitch? Chuck and Nancy. Chuck and Nancy. Sorry, I was confusing there too. Chuck and Nancy, because ultimately they've been doing this a very long time. They know how a reconciliation process passes. They know how long it takes, and they know how many weeks it's going to take to do the work. They need to start the reconciliation process sooner rather than later. The third stimulus package, it was a reconciliation process. It took 2 months. But it was only 300 pages long. It was only a revision of the second stimulus bill, which was a revision of the first one, which was almost 5,000 pages long. This fourth stimulus could be in the thousands of pages. It's changing the tax code. It's modifications. It's new language about roads and bridges and infrastructure. So it takes a lot of time to write this. Are they already writing it? They won't tell us. Are they going to start to write it? They have to. How long? At least 2 months. So ultimately, while we don't understand what the president's trying to do for bipartisanship, I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to be safe, but I still want you to push to understand that when it comes to Chuck and Nancy, they've been doing this a very long time. They know how to start that reconciliation process and where to start. Okay, so since we're on a list of things that we don't understand still, let's get to student loan debt forgiveness. But I have the latest update about that. The EIDL grant of the $5,000 hasn't gone live. I'll have the lack of clarity about that. It's not so much I'm confused. It's just sort of they're not clear. Or they're not getting to it. I'll have all those details and more as Afternoons LA returns in just a second. But first, here's a little bit about the community page that can help you with rent, utilities, food, internet, and more. And it's available now and more in May from your city and state. Stay with me. I'll have all those details coming up in just a second. I almost showed you a video of some bacon that would just been even more confusing. Yeah, maybe I should have shown it. It just sort of would fit this video. I'll be back in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LA Daily for the excitement of the new LA Live Daily. The excitement starts on mornings LA at 9 a.m. Home LA returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then Afternoons LA at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LA Late. And the excitement continues later on LA. After this recording, we go into Evenings LA. That's in about 2 hours from now. That'll have big updates across the board about your fourth stimulus and big updates about that SSI reform. Evenings LA is 2 hours from now. Join me on that big broadcast. And then 2 hours after that is LA Late Night, our irreverent humor-only broadcast. And with that, thank you for joining me on Afternoons LA. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also, like this video. And if you're not become a member, consider becoming a member. It's our 1 year anniversary in just a few days from now, April 25th. So help us get to 400,000 subscribers. We're at 494. We're at 394. You've been doing a great job. Also like this video. It really helps in the algorithm ranking. 3,000 likes. Well, away we go. A fourth stimulus has to go by reconciliation, and ultimately those House members and Senate members are going to do that reconciliation. You want to push Purple Power because they need to do this either in the vote-a-rama or by the House members putting it in. That push to get fourth stimulus needs to start ASAP in the next few days. Fourth stimulus would provide a monthly stimulus check across the board. Who would get it? You would get it. If you're on SSI or SSDI, you would get a stimulus check. If you make less than $75,000, you would get a stimulus check. And if you married couple, you would get a stimulus check. The House proposed to give you a stimulus check every month for the rest of this pandemic, plus 1 year. So you would get 18 checks approximately from the House. The senators would give you a stimulus check under the fourth stimulus package between now and December. That would be about 6 checks. The House members are more progressives. The senators are movers and shakers. The House members want to give you about $1,000 a month after the first month. The senators, the amount is unknown. But here is the big money. Here you go. They want to, the senators, give you checks from July to December. This would be 6 checks. This is per an individual. This would be about $2,000 a month or $1,400 a month. The single biggest payout you've ever seen in the history of this channel. To which viewers have asked a series of questions in recent days. Let me answer those questions right now. First, what month would the checks go out? July. What would be the first month I would get a check? July. Who would get the check? All the viewers of this channel, so long as you make less than $75,000 as an individual. Would this count towards my benefits and disqualify me for benefits? No. Is it taxable income? No. Would it disqualify me from SSI because it's much money on hand? No. It seems like a lot of money, LA. Would the president really do that? Yes, because under the 5th stimulus, detailed on Evenings LA tonight, he wants to pay nearly $50,000. Yes, to children 17 and newborn with a new extension of the child tax credit for 5 more years. Then viewers have also asked me, how would we physically get the money? I think it would likely come by a debit card that's replenished with money every month. You could set the debit card first, and then every month they would get additional money on it. Harris and Sanders proposed this during 2020 as a solution. I think it's the cheapest solution, and I think this is something IRS would like to do. So to that, then we go to student loan debt forgiveness. Not particularly clear what's going on. Student loan debt forgiveness was supposed to have a memo from the education secretary last Friday. Chuck Schumer's not happy about the situation because that memo has just not appeared. The memo was to determine whether the president can forgive student loan debt by executive order. Obama did it, Trump did it, so that's what the memo's likely to say. We haven't seen the memo. And the president hasn't talked about student loan debt. And Warren and Sanders and of course Schumer have been really on top of it. But Schumer's not happy, and I'm not happy that we haven't yet seen the determination of that letter. Also not making news, or also surprising news, is that the EIDL grant, the new one, $5,000 for new applicants, has not gone live from the 3rd stimulus package. And we don't know when it will go live. SBA makes no mention of it anywhere. Are they going to kill it? Not particularly clear. The shuttered venue grant, we do have clarity about that. It's not gone live because of a computer problem at SBA. Why? It just seems like a reoccurring circumstance. Again, I'm confused why they can't figure out how to fix their computers. The PPP grant is live. There was no grant to start a new little business. The president didn't get that in there. And finally, if you applied for that EIDL increase of your grant from 2020 applications in the month of February, you're stuck in a vortex. Again, it's not clear why there's a vortex, but at least we know that SBA knows about the vortex. And congratulations, viewers are getting the remainder of the $10,000 EIDL grant. It's great news across the board. So then we go to SSI and SSDI reform. Let me cut back and, as the press secretary would say, circle back to where is this incredible, great, exciting news. Now, SSI reform will take several shapes. First, they want to raise your benefit levels. They want to raise your benefit levels over 100% from where they currently are right now. Then they want to tie them to inflation so that every December they would be reassessed at a new benchmark. That's easy to figure out because inflation generally is 2 to 4%. So you could certainly know what your new rates, your new benefits would be the next year. Third, they want to remove the asset limit so you can hold more cash on hand. Then on the other hand, they want to remove an income exclusion that is dating back to the 1960s that doesn't allow you to work if you make more than a certain amount of money. They want to remove it, set a new income exclusion very high, almost in the thousands of dollars per month, and then tie that to inflation so you can continue to work if you want and still be on benefits. And they want to remove the marriage penalty. This is all of a very comprehensive SSI reform that Democrats, not the president, but Democrats will put into the 5th stimulus when it goes by recon. Ultimately, you're seeing a reoccurring theme here where Democrats are pushing for certain things. The president's pushing for his things. Democrats want certain things in these bills, and all these have to go by recon. And here, if this is not even obvious, let me recap again. Third, 2 trillion. Fourth, 3 trillion. Fifth, 1 trillion. Total price tag, 6 trillion between January and September. In 2020, the Republicans, during the worst moments of the pandemic, made clear they were not going to give the Democrats 2 trillion, 1 trillion. They would give them a half a trillion, like 600 billion. In this case, when we're talking about infrastructure, today and yesterday, they said, we'll go up to maybe 800 billion, which is surprising they're going that high. But they're not doing these $6 trillion price tags ever with this president, which means that reconciliation. You're going to see reconciliation after reconciliation on this channel between now and all the way through September. But Purple Power, you need to push. You need to push. Take this video, share it on social media, share it with the tag your elected officials, because you want them to start this forced stimulus reconciliation as soon as possible. It takes at least 2 months to do it. The vote would be July 4th, says Leader Schumer and Speaker Pelosi, for forced stimulus. And then they go on vacation. The stimulus checks will go out in the month of July. But you don't want to push up on that deadline. You want to get this done ahead of time. So with that, make sure you subscribe. Also, like this video. And if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. You can have access to the PDFs released in the last 2 days. The Elizabeth Warren letter that shows one of her direct staffers' contact information if you want to reach out to her and talk to her about SSI and SSDI, or about things like student loan debt forgiveness, express your professional opinion about the situation. You see the new bill from Mitt Romney about SSI reform. You'll see the new bill from the House members to provide monthly stimulus checks. And you can see everything else that's happening across the board. So with that, I look forward to seeing you tonight on Evenings LA. It's in 2 hours from now. The excitement is really about to heat up. It's going to be a big show tonight. That Evenings LA show is in 2 hours from now. And then we go into LA Late Night, an easy breezy schedule to remember. And let's, again, look at this big pay-fors. Second stimulus went to third, and then the fourth, and then the fifth. Enormous payouts. Ultimately, this is what the president wants to do. This is what he can do, but only by reconciliation. You're currently watching Afternoons LA, second show. I'll be back with you in 2 hours from now with Evenings LA, and then we kill the microphone. And then we go into LA Late Night. That's a signal to call it quits. Thank you for joining me on a big Afternoons broadcast. And with that, stay informed, stay smiling. Hopefully, together, this video clarified situations for you, and some hopefully clarified it for me. It's been a big day, and I look forward to seeing you as Afternoons LA swarms and surfs into Evenings LA. Coming up next. With that, always stay informed, stay positive, stay focused, and always keep yourself motivated. You know, it's very important that during these times when you see confusion and you see these announcements by the president, it may not be clear what's going on. Ultimately, remember that you're going to get every penny you need and you'll stay positive along the path. And I'll see you on Evenings LA.